Welcome everyone to our Eileen Fisher Women Together Connect. My name is Antoinette and I am your host, and I'm so glad to be together. We are meeting together on our regular Tuesday at noon Eastern. So a warm welcome wherever you are, whatever time zone it may be for you, whatever may be going on outside or internally, a warm welcome to each and every one of you joining us today. So we have a number of us here on Zoom and also on YouTube. So a warm welcome wherever you may be joining us from. And I see a little activity already in the Zoom chat. So if you're on Zoom or on YouTube, you can type directly in the chat or the comment section and just share with us a little bit of where you're coming from today. And most of that means what land you may be joining from. So physical place. And sometimes we share a little bit of the weather, because often what's going on outside is we start to reflect on that internally, but also just recognizing that wherever we may be in the world, we're all experiencing something different. Sometimes we're in a similar place. So just noticing where you are today physically, sharing a little bit where we're coming from, that we're here together on this one Earth planet, and that we may be coming in from different places and experiencing all different types of things. So we have a good morning from Seattle, bright and early for you. Welcome. We've got listening is my passion project. So glad to have you here with us, to hear from you as well today. We have a good morning from chilly, sunny Bloomfield, Connecticut. We've got Sweden in the house, New Jersey, overcast New York, Arlington, Mass. We had sun in New York yesterday, right? So we have to be at least happy with the one day of sun. And I see that, it's so sunny in Bloomfield, Connecticut. So we've got a lot of comments for Eugene about how sunny it is. Sandy Hook, Connecticut, Shrewsbury, Mass, sunny Hartford, Harlem, USA, Winchester, Mass, Wisconsin, Chesapeake Bay in Maryland, sunny Florida, cool West Palm Beach. Suzanne is coming in also from Vermont, and I'll just check and see if we have anyone in on YouTube typing in the chat or comment section there. We've got a few. Wintry, Rockport, Mass, Sammamish, Washington, sunny Los Angeles, sunny, cool Austin, and Austin, Texas. A predicted record high of 83 degrees today. Skies are blue. And it's winter in the Northern Hemisphere. So let's just notice that wherever we may each be physically, that we are noticing our external weather, and perhaps for a moment we can just tune in with our internal weather. Often in Women Together, for those of you who may be joining us for the first time, we like to check in a little bit around what's going on internally with tiny practices. So that can be just a moment of stillness. It can be focusing in on the breath. It can be journaling. But there are so many different ways of doing that we don't need to go outside and to some additional place or something to find that which lives within each of us. So it's an opportunity to connect inward, and also in our session today we will spend time connecting with each other, and that's really the priority of this session, that we get to spend time together connecting. And today we'll be practicing a particular form of listening, and we'll be noticing what type of listening we're doing. So we'll do a little framing, and then we'll turn to each other, and that will be our practice session for today. We'll have a little discussion at the end here in the Zoom room. So that is where we'll go. But for now, let's start with just landing here. We talked a little bit about the external place that we're in, but just landing here in our internal space and just noticing perhaps what's the internal weather today, what's going on inside. So if you can find a comfortable seat, Just feel a sense of having your feet on the ground, feeling a sense of connection to the breath. Just noticing as you tune your awareness and attention to the breath, you can start to lower your gaze or even just what we call soften the gaze. So some of us have a blurry background, and what I invite you is to, with your gaze, soften the kind of peripheral vision. So instead of having a hard focus on something, just softening the way that the eyes see. So it's taking in just a little bit more from the periphery. We're just sort of opening our awareness, feeling the breath in the body. And just noticing for a moment where you are today. What's the internal weather? Is it maybe matching the external weather? Perhaps is it sunny and clear? Is it foggy? Is there a storm brewing inside? Just noticing if there are places of tension or places of softness. Just noticing what's there for us today. Feeling the breath moving in and out. As we're throwing a ball up the spine and then releasing it, it comes back down. And perhaps that's a clear image for you and you can feel the breath, or perhaps your mind is starting to wander or you're already in something else, and just noticing if you find yourself being distracted from being able to just tune in for a moment. Just noticing, am I distracted today? Am I tuned in? And whatever is arising, just acknowledging that it's there, not trying to shift or change anything right now, just being with what is. And as you notice the internal weather, you can notice both the internal weather and also what brought me here today. So, what brought me to this connect space? And just noticing if you have a deeper intention for the day. So, what brought me here and what's my internal weather? And you can share in the chat when you're ready to reconnect with the screen. You can share what brought me here, or what's my internal weather, or both. Feeling foggy and ready to connect. Whatever it is for you, you can just type in the chat or in the comment section and I will share a couple of these out. Mm. So feeling the togetherness, pausing to listen together. We've got a chilling out from job searching, commitment, needing to have space to be self-reflective. Beautiful. Always feeling that we're better together, and bringing coaching on listening since 2018. So it'll be good to have um, your probably you've been cultivating your listening powers. So I'll say your superpower. It's good to have your superpower here. Beautiful title of generous listening. Belonging to women's community. Internal weather is joyful. Gratitude. Loving the Tuesday connections. Difficulty with the Zoom connection today, but glad I persisted to have the Tuesday breath. Wonderful. To be with other women enriches my psyche. Good. And whether you have been, I see a friend suggested joining, so welcome to you if it's your first time here. And it's often these experiences that allow us to kind of build a sense of connection with each other. And as we build this muscle to be able to connect, for some of us it might feel really easy, or really, this is just what we do now. And for some of us this may be really new, and it feels sort of, how do I make a connection with these new people, and kind of dipping my toe in. And wherever you are is perfectly wonderful. I thought today we would dive into what may be for some a very familiar topic, but I find that this is always useful to come back to. So we'll go into a little bit around generous listening in just a moment. And before we do that, I'd love to just allow or invite us to take in this wonderful group. So if you are on Zoom, you can click on view and click on the gallery. And if you can do that, and you can get your video on, this is a great way to just take in who's in the room. And what I invite is to do this with more than just your eyes. The eyes are one seeing, perception, but imagine as if you have eyes all over the body, and you can take in and welcome this wonderful group of people. So we'll just give a minute, and you can maybe take, if you can pause on perhaps just a few boxes of the Zoom boxes, which are maybe 3 or 4 wonderful women who are here with us, and just allow yourself to be with their presence, and allow yourself to also be felt. So perhaps you're able to feel these women, and perhaps you're able to be felt. And just noticing if this feels really, really simple, really easy. Oh, I'm in the flow of feeling and being felt. Or maybe what I'm saying sounds a little bit like, what is she talking about? And that's okay too. Wherever you are with this is like, okay, I'm on Zoom and there's some people, it's great. I don't really know. But just noticing, where is it that my nervous system can take in this idea of feeling other people and allowing myself to be felt. And if there's a lot of comfort there, that's great. If there's not a lot of comfort there, also great. And just breathing into this feeling. Sending a warm welcome to everyone joining today, wherever you may be and however comfortable or not it may be. And I'll just share a few thoughts around generous listening, and then we'll dive into the practice of it, because I think that's the best part. But the basic idea that we're talking about today actually can start from where we are right now, of this, where is it that I feel capable and ready to receive? So when I do this little exercise of allowing myself to be felt, just noticing for a moment, how easy or hard was that for me? So we release that, and just notice in the after effect, how easy or hard was it for me to feel someone else or allow myself to be felt? That's just in an energetic field, right? But when we're speaking to each other, the same thing also happens. So noticing, where is it that I'm ready to listen, and where is it that I can feel that what I'm saying is being fully received? Just noticing, when is it that I'm ready to listen? What happens in me that I am able to perceive, I'm able to listen, and what does that actually mean to be able to listen to somebody else? Often, and I say this when many of us know, when we go into breakouts, I often say that we don't know what the other person had for breakfast. We don't know, much about their life experience, and we're going in and we're going to be with these people who some of us may know each other now, some of us may be brand new, and we make this connection. And what happens there? So often for me, when my partner or somebody, a friend, is telling me a story, I'm already thinking about what to respond. I'm already thinking about how I can relate to that. If my partner tells me something, I am 2 seconds in and I'm already making up the story of like, oh, well, this is what I think about that. And this is how, I've dealt with that situation. And this is what happened for me. And, I often talk about the universal experience of having a mother, whether or not we have a connection with that mother, or whether or not we have a good connection with that mother, whether or not we actually grew up with our biological mother, all of those different things are there. But as soon as someone starts talking about their mom, immediately I jump to, I had an experience with mom like that. So what happens for me when I'm immediately jumping into that story is, all of a sudden I'm no longer with that person and their story about what's going on for them. And that can be felt. So when that person is telling me what's going on for them, they can feel that I'm gone. I am no longer there. I'm in my own story about mom, and I've probably gone to this like place of being a 3-year-old and mom didn't do this or that or whatever the thing is. And I'm no longer with that person. So part of what we're talking about with generous listening is about the ability to be present. That can just be layer number one. I'm just here to actually be present. And sometimes I'm not capable of doing that today. Like, I don't have the capacity to really fully listen. And how often, I have my little brother staying with me, and it's so wonderful to have him here. And I work from home, as you all know. And so when, I'll be in something and he'll come up and I'm like really excited that he's here and we're, having a connection. But there are these moments where he comes up and I'm like, I'm so not ready to listen right now. But do I say that? Everybody just went, nope. I just saw your heads. Everybody just, nope. Yeah, no, we don't say that. We don't say, actually, I don't have the capacity to listen right now. I'm not even here. They can feel it and so much comes up, but how often am I actually honest with myself? How much am I honest with the person who's coming up to tell me whatever it is that's going on? And then I'm not giving them the best experience of me. I have shut down, I'm not really listening. And then it's these little tiny things that affect how we show up with each other. It's these little tiny ways of being that change the entire experience of our relationship. So just noticing. Yeah. And also they can take care of themselves. They can handle it. Yes, Suzanne. Suzanne said, bro is a big boy. Yeah. And that's the thing. I'm doing all of this internal work to caretake for the other person. And as I'm doing that, I'm trying to take care of how they're going to feel if I say I don't have the capacity to listen right now, instead of just being really honest with myself and saying, hey, I am in the middle of something right now, and I would love to give this time and attention that it really deserves. And, let's take some time to do that later. And let's really give the space. That act is providing the space and the container to really be able to generously listen to somebody. And then, so what do I mean about generous listening? And there's a few different, ways there's actually, so many wonderful teachers that have done incredible work around listening. And, they're the the framework that I typically use and I've talked a lot about in here is the Theory U, or Otto Scharmer's levels of listening. And those levels of listening, I'll kind of go through a little bit just so that we can, but I change the word. So the word that he uses is generative listening. And for us, for our particular engagement here, I talk about generous listening. So I'm going to explain a little bit of the difference in those things. But the first level of listening is downloading. So that might be where I am taking in information. So I might be downloading, I'm listening to a particular teacher, or, I'm listening to something that's happening, and I'm just taking in the information. You're saying this, and I'm taking it in. It's a download, right? The next, and the experience of the download is I'm kind of inside my own space. I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm just letting that piece of information come in. I'm not thinking about what I think about it or any of it. It's just, okay, yes, you say that's the fact, that's what it is. All right, done. Then comes factual listening, where I start listening and I can sort of go to the window a little bit, and I can listen to, oh, I learned something like this, or that resonates with me because of this fact that I heard. And often we do this in a kind of debate, so somebody will say something to me and I'll say, no, that happened in 1892, not whenever you're saying it was. I have this factual conversation, right? And then comes empathic listening, where I can actually step outside of my own experience, where I can actually say, this is not just about the facts. This is actually, maybe some heart comes in. I can feel the emotion of it. I can feel what's coming up for you. And even the way I'm talking about it, I can feel the place of where I'm talking moved from my head into my heart. And oftentimes I step out of my own experience, I step out of what I know, and I can feel into what the other person is feeling. This is often when people talk about taking a step in someone else's shoes. This can be a very helpful way of listening, but it can also, for many of us in this room are empaths, and many of us we do this almost without any consciousness. Somebody starts talking, we're like, oh, I feel it. I can immediately, and what we need to be really careful about is bringing consciousness to it so that we're not taking on their emotions and draining ourselves with that. So really applying empathy when it's needed and when it's useful, and also being able to create I find it to be an energetic boundary between, I'm not taking this on for you. I can feel it for a few moments so that I can really be in the conversation, but maybe I need to take a step back. And I can even do that physically. I can move my heart back a little bit and just protect my heart space so that I'm not taking it on. And then what Otto calls generative listening, a lot of people who are, really in creative fields can, recognize this, but the basic idea is that I'm listening for what the highest future potential, what's really possible here. And often what happens is we can co-create something because we're finding the space that it's not you, it's not me, it's not, this everything that I've brought to it and everything that you've brought to it. It's all of it. All of it is here, and it's living in between us. And I can sense into what's possible. Sometimes that happens in a feeling of falling in love. There's like this, it's not you and it's not me, and it becomes something new. A lot of people, like I said, feel it when they're in a moment of creation. So when I'm really deeply listening to, Eileen talks about this when she talks about the beginning of the creation of clothing. She envisioned these box tops, like she could see them. And it's like that kind of really deep listening to what her vision was. And we can do that with other people, a really deep listening for what's possible. And what I say in this space with us is that when we look at generous listening, it's taking all of that into account. And it's being really generous with saying what's possible. Can I give empathic listening today? Can I let go of everything that might have come before this moment and really just be here with you? Can I listen with more than just my ears and the words that I heard, and really listen to what is the possibility for this woman sitting in front of me right now? When I move into a breakout group in these connect spaces, can I not assume that I know what's going to happen, even if I've been in a group with some of these women before, even if I've heard some of them speak before? Can I let go of assumptions? Can I be really generous and give someone the gift of listening? And noticing if I don't have that capacity today, that's okay. Maybe my listening isn't at the deepest possible place it could ever be, but just noticing it. Oh, I'm here today and I can only give this much. I showed up, that's great. So, and that might be the most generous thing that we can do. And that's wonderful. So just recognizing that we're giving each other a gift by really deeply listening. And we're also in a place where often we actually have to receive. And that's a whole other thing. I think we can do a whole other session about receiving and what it takes to be able to receive a gift, physical or emotional, in our lives. So that's my thoughts on listening. And then what I'll invite us to do is actually just go into the rooms and practice this with each other and just notice what's coming up. Where am I with my listening today? And we can just talk about that. And we'll do both a talking about it, but also noticing, how am I listening? So just inviting in a little bit of extra, like if I think about it, I might be engaging with Suzanne and I'm like, hey, Suzanne, this is what I was thinking about when Antoinette was talking. And here's but I'm also, as Suzanne speaks, I'm going to be really listening to like, what's going on? Am I able to be empathic with what's coming up for Suzanne? Am I able to dive deeper? Am I able to see her at her highest potential right now? Am I listening with my whole body? My listening, is the space around me even listening? So there are a lot of different ways we can think about this, but we're going to jump into about 20 minutes. And Elaine, I'll write in the chat, the author of the Theory U, who is Otto Scharmer, who has a very detailed levels of listening body of work. So, and there are plenty of others, so I can give you some more resources on levels of listening in the conversation space as well. So enjoy the time together. We'll be there for about 20 minutes. Just noticing what's coming up for you, speaking from what's coming up for you as we go through this. And maybe just noticing, when are times that I've really been listened to and I've been really able to receive the gift of listening, and when is a time that I really have been a good listener and I've had real capacity to be able to do that. All right, 20 minutes, enjoy the time together. And then for those of us in Zoom, we will continue on in a large group. And for those of us on YouTube, we'll see you next week and we'll dive into another topic. So have a great time in the breakouts, everyone. See you back in 20 minutes.